I've been taking the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with me everywhere recently, and it's just a fun camera to document life with. And after using it for the past couple months, I found some settings that really work for me, and they're a nice balance between being cinematic and also convenient, which to me that balance is really important because I want my footage to look good, but I also don't want to be taking too much time away from my trip with my loved ones and not be too invasive. So in this video, I'm going to show you all my settings for documenting everyday life on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. All right, first thing you want to do is just make sure that you're in the regular video mode, not the low light or the slow-mo. This is going to give you the best image possible. Next, we're just going to swipe up, and for my resolution, I want to shoot in 4K to get the highest quality. And also make sure your aspect ratio is 16:9. I shoot in 30 frames per second 99% of the time, but if I do need slow-mo footage, I'll usually switch to 60 frames per second. And I know 24 frames per second is the cinematic standard. That's what most films are shot at. However, 24 frames per second only looks good if you're setting your shutter speed manually, keeping it 2 times your frame rate, and also using ND filters. Which for documenting life, those are 2 settings that can be just a little bit more time consuming, and if you're out on a trip with your family or your loved ones, that can be very annoying to them if you're stopping every few minutes to just fiddle with your manual settings. All right, next we're just gonna swipe down and we're gonna swipe right and toggle on Pro mode. First thing we're gonna go to is exposure, and I like to have my exposure set to auto, and I'll leave my automatic ISO range between 50 and 1600. And then for the exposure value on the left, I'm gonna drop it to -0.7 stops because that will help preserve my highlights. And to me, that's kind of the key of having a cinematic, nice image is not having blown out highlights. And you can always boost the shadows up in post-production. Then just click confirm. Next, for my white balance, this is actually the only thing that I choose to do manual in order to protect my colors. So from sunrise to sunset, I always just shoot at 5600 Kelvin. And if you are indoors in fluorescent lighting, you might want to switch anywhere between 2800 and 4000 Kelvin. Next, click confirm. Now I'm going to scroll down, and for the color profile, I'm going to tap it 2 times to switch to D-Log M. And as you can tell, this is going to give me a flat color profile. And it's also one of the keys to getting a nice cinematic image is just being able to color grade it yourself. And all of my footage is color graded using Enhancer Pro Film Emulation, which you can use my promo code Victor to get 10% off of your purchase. And you can check out my dedicated color grading tutorial on my channel. And for my focus mode, I just leave it in continuous, so that way it's just continuous autofocus. And for image adjustment, you can adjust your sharpness and noise reduction, so you can just turn it to -2 and -2 on both. This will give you the least processed image. All right, that's it for the main camera settings. Just swipe left and then swipe up. And first you're gonna see that little running man, just tap that. And for the rotational speed, basically this is how fast the gimbal will move. I always turn it to slow. This will give you the smoothest looking camera movement, and it looks a lot more fluid and less robotic than if you had it at default or fast. And to get the smoothest gimbal movements, I never use the joystick. Instead, I always just rotate or tilt the gimbal in the direction that I want it to go. Next, we'll just hit this little icon on the bottom left, and we'll go through a few more settings. So for slider control, I always set my slider control to zoom, and what this does, which is actually pretty cool, I'm just gonna X out, is this little toggle on the right of your screen. You can use this to just do a quick digital zoom if you need it in a pinch. To get the best image, you'll always wanna shoot at 1x. However, if you do just need a quick shot zoomed up a bit more, you can just punch in that way, and it's really convenient and really quick. Let's go back into the menu real quick, and we're gonna scroll down to where it says joystick speed, which I actually never use the joystick on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I just find that it always looks too robotic. However, I usually just leave my gimbal speed at 3, and I just leave zoom at 4. Now we're just gonna scroll down to where it says reference line, and what this is gonna do is if you toggle on grid, now you're gonna have a simple 3x3 grid on your screen, which makes it really easy and simple for framing up and getting some nice, pleasing compositions. You can also toggle on a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio guide, which it's gonna be those 2 skinny lines on the top, and this can give you like a little guideline if you do plan on exporting your footage in an ultra wide screen, which an example would be my Disney World video. That's pretty close to a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio if you did want to see it. However, most of the time I just turn 2:3:5:1 guides off, and then I just leave the 3x3 grid on. And that's it. All right, everyone, so those are my settings for documenting everyday life on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 without being too invasive and also just enjoying your time. And if you want to see a new color grading tutorial with some of my more recent Osmo Pocket 3 footage, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And I just want to say a huge thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, you are.
Doesn't they have an eye spotting?